Okay. One thing that I forgot to mention is that our organization has 3 PhD physicists. Besides Rudy Shields, we also have Dr. Claude Swanson, who has a PhD in physics from Princeton University. So these are not just, we have Bob Davis, who is a professor of neuroscience, retired professor of neuroscience. We have 5 PhD physicists. We have 4 medical doctors. 2 of them are the top pioneers in near-death experiences. Dr. Jeffrey Long, Dr. Raymond Moody, and also Dr. Kenneth Ring. Dr. Joseph Burks, a retired emergency room physician, also an experiencer. So individuals from many disciplines, all scientists. Dr. Gary Schwartz, who has received a PhD from Harvard University in psychology. He runs a research lab where he studies mediumship. So, so this is not just people off the street. These are highly educated people that all believe the same thing, that consciousness is the key to understanding this phenomenon. These are multidimensional experiences. Now, for our research study, Edgar told me, he says, Ray, we have 0 information about what is happening to experiencers, to the people that are having these experiences. Nothing has been written academically about it, very little, except a few small studies whether these people are crazy or not, that type of thing. The works by Dr. John Mack, for example, those were not academic research studies. Those are just, he interviewed, let's say, 50 people that he put in his last book, Passport to the Cosmos. And that was a case study. I forgot how many people. I think it was maybe 12 people. So, you know, it was written by an academic, Dr. John Mack, but it's not an academic statistical comprehensive research study. So what we developed with the team of all these scientists and lay researchers, people like Kathy Martin, like Mary Rodwell, for example, we all got together and we said, okay, how do you study this? How do you research this? How do you begin? So for 9 months, we developed the research methodology. Okay. Then what we developed was 3 surveys. 2 surveys were quantitative. Yes and no, from A to B, that sort of thing. Thing that you gotta fill in a blank, okay? That was 600 questions we come up with. Now, those 600 questions, we asked numerous types of areas. Not just the abductions, because that's what people understood the phenomenon to be, just abductions. We knew it was much more complicated than abductions. Abductions is one little tiny aspect of it, okay? We asked about family history. We talked about contact in a 3D reality, contact on board a UFO, contact like on the ground, you know, contact in another planet, but still 3-dimensional. Also telepathic contact, mind to mind. We also had contact in a matrix reality. Ufology doesn't focus on all of these things. We asked about paranormal questions, numerous paranormal questions, over 100 paranormal questions. We also talked about how these people changed, transformation. We borrowed a book by 60 questions from a book that was published in 1986 by Dr. Kenneth Ring. He's now a retired professor of psychology at the University of Connecticut. And in 1986, he did an academic statistical research study of comparing 85 people that had abduction experiences and 85 people that had near-death experiences. And he wanted to look at how did these people change. And what he found was that 85% of them changed exactly the same way. So we took those 60 questions, we put in our survey, and what did we find out? The same thing. First of all, people became less materialistic. They didn't care about money. They became more ecologically friendly. They didn't want to destroy the planet, throw away garbage. Okay?
I think you're talking about me.
Okay, well, let me continue. Okay? People became much more spiritual. Okay? The people that were religious lost their interest in religion. The people that were atheists all of a sudden became spiritual. Okay? People became more loving to each other, to their fellow human being. Before, they didn't care. Okay? People were very egotistical. Now they're not egotistical. Okay? People also became more consciously aware. They now have a mission. They now have a purpose. Okay? Etc., etc., etc. Numerous questions. Now on the negative, people didn't fear death. Okay? They didn't fear death. Their belief in religion all of a sudden went down because they became more spiritual. Okay? 60 questions resulting in a new human being, a totally new person, a person that you would want your wife to be, your husband to be, okay? Someone you would want your best friend to be, okay? And so my perspective is, if this non-human intelligence, we don't use the word ET, because ET signifies three-dimensional, okay? What we're interacting with is both three-dimensional and multi-dimensional, okay? So that's why we use the word non-human intelligence, which is much more expansive. Interdimensional and intradimensional, as well as extraterrestrial, 3D reality. Okay, so my perspective is, if this intelligence is doing this to people that they have contacted, why don't they do it to the rest of the world? Okay, so these are just an examples of the questions that we asked, numerous types of topic questions. And what we did is we administered that survey, okay, over a 3-year period, everywhere. We also had more than 100 radio interviews where we talked about the surveys, okay. We had an emailing list. Now it's over 8,000 people, but back then it was 5,000 people. So if you've ever written a ufology book, for example, you mentioned Clifford Stone. Clifford Stone got our emails, okay? If you ever wrote a book about the paranormal, you know, if you've ever been in lectures and gave lectures in the International UFO Conference, for example, you know, you got emails. So everybody that has an interest in this knew about our survey. We wound up in these we did the surveys in many languages. The two biggest languages were English and Spanish. And then we did it in French, German, Slovak, and very soon in Chinese, okay? For the English language, we wound up with 4,200 responses from individuals from more than 100 countries.
Can we find this question somewhere?
It's going to be on our website. We're going to put pie charts of the questions so you can visually see it. We have our website. Our website is consciousnessandcontact.org. Consciousnessandcontact.org. And so getting back to our research study. So 600 quantitative questions and 70 open-ended questions. Open-ended questions is they had to write out the details. We received more than 10,000 pages of writings of people's experiences. And the analysis of that 10,000 pages is chapter 2 in our book. And that was written by a retired professor of psychology, Dr. John Climo. He wrote that.
Okay.
And so...
how many of this experience are real? I mean, not fake.
Well, let's take a hypothetical issue here, okay? We had 4,200 people that took our surveys. The average for phase 1 and phase 2 was roughly 6 hours to complete. So if you wanted to fake us, you had to spend 6 hours doing phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3, on the average, took 2 days to do. Okay? We also did, we had a PhD statistician that worked with us, Dr. Russell Scalpone. He did a statistical analysis where he looked at all the responses over a 6-month period. The first 6 months, the next 6 months, the next 6 months, like that. All the answers remain consistent. Consistent. Yeah, what we suspect, we don't know, because anyone that tells you they have the answers is full of it, okay? But we suspect that one hypothesis is that we might not be dealing with all these different types of beings. We might be dealing with one type. That's actually...
They're playing with this...
yes, because hundreds of people have seen, for example, the Egyptian god with the dog head. Many people. The Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ. We're talking hundreds of people. From India, the Ganesh, the god with the elephant head.
Yeah.
Tons of people. Okay, I have a couple very educated people. One person is a PhD psychologist. The other person is again, highly distinguished person. Both of them saw Ganesh.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads one to speculate that in reality, Ganesh did not appear from other reality. Is that they're putting these projections, and the way you see them very visual, like people are seeing me. They touch me. Okay, they're seeing very physical people, but in actuality, these are some type of projections. Okay, that from some other reality.
Can be like holograms.
Well, a hologram is usually depicted as see-through. Okay. There are a lot of these beings that appear to. A lot of people felt that the being touched them, but not the person who touched the being. Okay. Now, so what we discovered that was the reptilian, again, was not that the reptilian did something bad to them, but that people were very, very scared. Now, what we also discovered was that in the very beginning, 38% of the people viewed their experiences as negative. So 4 out of 10 people in the beginning, horrible. These are horrible experiences. But then what happened over time, these people started to have, most of them, the overwhelming majority, had multiple experiences. You didn't have 1, 2, 3. The over 40% of the people had more than 20 experiences. The people that had only 1 or 2 experiences are the people that viewed this the most negative. So if you had 1 or 2, especially the people that have had an abduction, where they're being medically checked, inspected, those are the people who are the most horrified. Okay? Now, what we also found out was many of the people began with a gray, but they finished with a human-looking being, with an energy being. And then these beings were giving them spiritual lessons, being brought to other dimensions. But for many of the people, it started with a gray. What people don't understand, okay, the materialist mainstream ufologists. And we all know a lot of people that are on the lecture circuit that are like that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Those people have zero understanding of what is really happening at the ground level. Why? Because the experiencer is having all of these experiences, okay, which do not match with, pictures, the little rocks, the pieces of the UFOs, the videos. Those things have nothing to do with people who are going on, the experiencer, okay? But these intelligence, the way for the public to understand them is they have angelic-like powers, okay? They can manipulate space-time, okay? They can move back and forth in time. They could go to other realities. They could put thoughts in your mind. Very, very famous, okay, in the motion picture industries that I spoke with, okay? His wife's, he's been seeing tons of UFOs, lots of paranormal experiences. His wife saw a 6-foot owl in their bathroom, standing on the vanity, looking at her. Now, did a 6-foot owl really appear, or was it the projection? But it was very physical. Okay?
Yeah.
So these intelligence have the ability to get into your consciousness,
Right.
put thoughts into your mind, and also to physically appear as something else. So we're talking about like angelic type of power.
So this is super hard to understand.
Correct? It's the world's biggest puzzle.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have any answers, but we have a better understanding of what questions to ask.
Okay.
Okay, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So let me go over some of these paranormal experiences.
Okay.
Okay? What we found out was that 80% of these people have had an out-of-body experience. 8 out of 10. Extremely common phenomenon. 37% have had a near-death experience. 50% have had a medical healing. 78% have had telepathic communications. Almost 8 out of 10. Very large numbers. Okay? 50% were brought to another matrix reality. Much more than abductions. Okay? Even the people that have had abductions, 70% of those people now call themselves contactees and not abductees. Very important.
Yeah.
Okay? The people that have had recollections of past lives, 66%. 76% have seen a ghost or a spirit.
You're talking about reincarnation?
Yes, reincarnation. You know what orbs are? These round lights
Yeah.
and many, many different colors.
Yeah.
67%, 2 out of 3 people have physically, not through a picture, physically seen orbs.
Yeah.
Okay? Aports, those are things that just materialize right in front of you. Okay? 25% have had aports. Paranormal experiences in their home, 95% have had paranormal experiences in their home. Okay? Objects moving around in their house,
Yeah.
61%. Okay? People that when they have close contact, okay, with this intelligence, 74% can see auras around people. People have seen a being. They have seen a UFO, okay? Some of them even a UFO that landed. But the overwhelmingly percent of these experiences, paranormal.
Yeah.
Okay, and ufology doesn't know that. The people that work with experiencers, the researchers, they know that.
Yeah.
Okay, now the last major finding is that these experiences involve a manipulation of space-time. Okay, and that was first discussed by Jacques Vallée 40 years ago. So this is not just some crazy person that's saying this.
Yeah.
Dr. John Mack also said the same thing, the manipulation of space-time. Edgar Mitchell said that these experiences involve a manipulation of space-time. Dr. Rudy Shields, emeritus professor of astrophysics, the director of our organization, manipulation of space-time. So we're talking geniuses, pioneers, Edgar Mitchell, Jacques Vallée, Dr. John Mack, saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? And now, in terms of the communications received, I could go on and on, what these entities told the experiencer. But one of them involved spiritual aspects of it, of this phenomenon. Okay? Individuals were told by this non-human intelligence about God, the spirit world. People were shown the spirit world. Okay? People were told about multi-dimensions. Okay? That some of the entities that are dealing with us are multi-dimensional and connected to God. Okay? Numerous questions we asked about that. And so that's all in our book. The book is titled Beyond UFOs, The Science of Consciousness and Contact with Non-Human Intelligence. Now, if you don't mind, what I would like to be able to do is to talk a little bit about the commonalities between near-death experiences and UFO contact experiences.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay.
Before that,
Yeah.
how people can find this book?
Yeah, this book is available on Amazon to purchase.
Okay.
Also, if you want to check out a couple of the chapters of the book before you buy it, you can go to our website, and it's down here, the bottom, consciousnessandcontact.org. We have 3 chapters for free. The most important one is chapter 1, which is 120 pages. And that's a summary of our research study. Is what we discussed today and much more with data and statistics, pie charts, that sort of thing. So if you like what you read, you can then order the book.
I mean, this is very serious book. Looks like scientific research and study, interviews. This is very serious.
Yeah, and what it shows, again, is that this is not about ufology.
Okay.
This is much more complicated.
Yeah, beyond UFO.
It's way beyond UFOs.
Okay.
It deals with the multi-dimensional aspects of our reality.
Yeah.
It deals with consciousness, which, in a simplistic way, is that we are not just physical beings.
Okay.
Okay? That we are actual spiritual beings.
Yeah.
That our mind, our brain, is not the key to understanding this phenomenon, because who we really are is outside the brain. Let me give you an examples. Let me compare near-death experiences with UFO contact experiences. First of all, what's the number one type of being seen in a near-death experience? The energy being.
Okay.
Number
angels.
Well, and no, the what people encounter, what they perceive as God,
Yeah.
is energy,
Okay.
pure energy in a humanoid type of format.
Yeah, they describe some of group religious person. They describe God like energy. light, kind of like this.
Yeah, so that's the number one type of being. Number two, the human-like type of being. Number three in our survey is the spirit form. Those three types, the near-death experiences, the three types of beings, that's 3 out of the 4 beings in the UFO study. The grays is the exception. Okay? Another aspect, communication. How does communication take place with both phenomena? Mind to mind. Both in a near-death experience and contact with non-human intelligence. Telepathic communication. Okay? Both involve a manipulation of space-time. In a near-death experience, you're brought to another multi-dimensional reality. Our book has shown, a research study, that almost double the number of people have brought to another multi-dimensional reality than people have had abductions. Okay? So, involves a manipulation of space-time, both experiences. When people have experiences where no time is gone, no time is spent. Again, in the UFO and in the NDE. Okay? Also, with the NDE experiences, people are shown visions of the past. They're given a life review. So all their life is being shown to them. Okay?
I'm sorry.
But let me finish the last point.
Okay.
With the UFO contact experiences, people are being shown visions of the past as well, and visions of the future. Like, for example, if we continue to destroy our planet, what is our planet going to look like? So you visually see this in a holographic display, just like a near-death experiences. Okay? Also, when people return from this phenomenon, people describe precognition skills. Okay? With both groups. Same thing. Electronic devices, watches. If you wear a watch or your computer, both groups describe that they have problems with electronic devices.
Yeah.
Clocks stop functioning, computers.
Yeah.
Same thing with a near-death experience. Okay? Overall, we discovered more than 50 commonalities between both groups. When people get taken to a UFO, almost everybody does not physically get brought to a UFO. Consciously, they get brought to it. Some people walk to a UFO, the UFO lands, they walk there. Okay? Why cannot these experiences be very real? Okay? So my message to the people of Bulgaria is to keep an open mind. These experiences are very real, but do not be led astray that this is just physical, material experiences. It's much more complicated. For the ufologists in Bulgaria, please understand that 20 years from now, we're not going to be talking about physicalism and nuts and bolts ufology. We're going to be talking about consciousness and the experiencer, because that's where ufology is moving towards.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. And we appreciate your time to be with us today. Thank you.
Very well. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about my personal experiences, but basically before March of 2012, I was a rational materialist. I had gone to Cornell University for a master's. I went to University of California, Berkeley for a PhD, and now I am an attorney with the federal government. So I had zero interest or knowledge in these topics. And then in March the 4th of 2012, my wife and I had an experience with an energy being in our living room that totally healed, medically healed, our dog, who we were going to euthanize, put to sleep later that afternoon. And my wife disappeared in front of me. This being put me to sleep.
Literally disappeared?
Excuse me? Yes, correct. For 45 minutes. And then when I woke up, my wife reappeared. The dog was now running around the living room like a teenager. Even before she had the paralysis, she was like a very old lady with arthritis. She could not run, she could not jump for 2 years. She was almost 16 years old. And so after this medical healing, she was like a like a teenager.
It looks like she was killed when she disappeared.
Correct.
During that time.
That's the assumption. And I will talk a little bit later on that in our book, in our free, Dr. Edgar Mitchell free experiencer research study, which is the world's first academic research study on UFO contact experiencers, roughly 50%, half the people that took our survey, stated that either they or a family member were healed by UFO-related non-human intelligence. We're talking more than 1,000 people.
That is amazing.
Yeah, well, most people don't know what's in that book because no one's ever done the research work before.
Yeah.
So what happened was 2 months later, my wife saw a big gigantic UFO outside the house, very close. Not like a little star.
Here in Miami.
In Miami, correct.
Okay.
And then she went to Mexico, and then she called down her angels, and she was successful numerous times. And these UFOs would be very visible, very close. And one time she saw 3 human-looking beings, 7 to 8 feet tall, dressed in white monk robes, that floated in front of her. And so, and then 6 months later, my experiences began. It lasted roughly 2 years, and it was nonstop. Every couple of weeks, there was another experience and another experiences. And the UFO was only one time, but it was a big, gigantic football stadium. If you could get the biggest football stadium in Bulgaria, okay, put it right on top of your house, 5 feet from the roof, 100 meters up, 600 meters back. And that was witnessed by myself, my daughter, and 3 adult friends of mine for 45 minutes.
And you never been hurt from the,
No, it was...
Usually they have some polarity.
That's a rumor. That's a rumor.
That's a rumor?
That's a rumor.
Okay.
I was 30 feet away. 30 feet. I could have gotten a rock and hit it.
Hit it.
Okay. And so then after that, numerous paranormal experiences that last over a 2-year period. How the organization got started, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation got started. It got started in May of 2013. So it's a little bit more than a year after that initial experience. Back in October of 2012, I had sent an email to 10 very famous people, like Kathy Martin, Whitley Strieber, Grant Cameron, Stan Friedman, people like that.
I know all of these people.
All of these people, correct? Because I wanted someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Because I was having all of these experiences, and for my wife, they were angels,
Yeah.
And so for her, it was angels, and that's it, And so I needed someone to talk to. So what had happened was 2 people sent me a respond in October. It was Whitley Strieber and Grant Cameron. And it was very, very brief, exchanges. So fast forward 6 months later, I was driving my car to go to downtown Miami to work. I'm an attorney with the federal government. And so I was in the middle of a traffic jam, normal for Miami, in the morning. And then all of a sudden, I'm not in my car. It's just my mind, my consciousness. And I'm in another reality, what I call a matrix reality, like the movie The Matrix, okay? And then all of a sudden, I'm inside a big, gigantic spinning wheel. The wheel has different spokes, like a cart, And so inside each different spoke was a different, like a video. And I looked at it and I knew what it was, each one. And what it was is what I now call the contact modalities. The contact modalities are all the different ways that humans are piercing the veil and having contact with non-human intelligence. In one section was near-death experiences. Another one's UFO contact. Another one was out-of-body experiences. Another one was remote viewing. Another one's communication with ghosts and spirits. Okay, and mediumship. The mediums that communicate with spirits of the dead.
Yeah.
Okay? Another one was remote viewing. Another one was hallucinogens. The people that take DMT, ayahuasca, mushrooms, these people have contact with non-human intelligence. So ESP and the psi phenomena. So all of these different phenomena, what I was told that humans are researching them as separate and distinct phenomena.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's one phenomenon.
Yeah.
They're not separate, including the UFOs.
Yeah.
Okay? And then I was told that the glue that holds it all together, humans are calling it consciousness. But in fact, what it is the fabric of our reality, the structure of our universe, the fabric of it. So then I was given a mission, a task. It said, you must inform humanity of the relationship between us, which is whatever that intelligence was that was interacting with me, the relationship between us, the spirit world, and consciousness. 2 criteria. This is not about you getting rich.
Yeah.
Okay? And secondly, you're going to need help with people. But the criteria for these people is individual with minimal ego. Okay?
This is very important.
Yes. The individuals are going to be helping me out have to be individuals with minimal ego. Okay? And then, poof, I'm back in the car again. No time had elapsed.
Yeah.
But out of body, I was like 20, 30 minutes in this other reality. And so what had happened? When I got home later that evening, I got an email from one of the people that I sent that email back in October of 2012. Now remember, this is this was May of 2013.
Yeah.
That was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So the email was from Mary Rodwell, one of the world's leading researchers of individuals that have seen UFOs and have contact with non-human intelligence. She has helped and has worked with more than 3,000 people over 35 years. So her email said, Dear Ray, I'm sorry that I'm responding to an email that you sent me 6 months ago, but it just popped on my computer tonight.
Wow.
So then I responded back and I said, well, you ain't seen nothing because this has happened in the last 6 months. And so she was like, oh my God, Ray, we need to talk. So we talked till almost 1:30 in the morning. Okay. Then we agreed to continue our discussions. The very next day at 9:30 in the morning, I got a phone call. Hello, is this Rey Hernandez? Yes, who is this? This is Dr. Rudy Shields. Who? Dr. Rudy Shields is an emeritus professor of astrophysics from Harvard University.
Yeah.
One of the world's leading experts in black holes. He was a very close friend of the late Dr. John Mack, who was a professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, who wrote several books about UFO contactees. Okay.
But
And
how he know about you?
Rudy, because Mary Rodwell had sent him an email.
Ah, okay.
And so Mary said, I'm going to send an email to Ray to ask for his permission. Once he gives me the permission, you call him.
Yeah.
But Rudy didn't wait.
Yeah.
He contacted me. And so then we spoke for about 90 minutes and he
Yeah.
told me that what happened to me, the information that was given to me, was Dr. Edgar Mitchell's quantum hologram theory of consciousness, which is a theory that he had been working on with many physicists all around the world on the nature of our reality and on consciousness.
That is not known for the public.
No, correct.
I mean, I heard it for the first time now.
And what it is that part of that theory is that all of these different ways that humans are having contact with non-human intelligence, that it's one phenomenon. Okay? And that consciousness, he explained how consciousness works, how humans are interacting with information fields, information from our universe,
Yeah.
extracting it. It's quite complicated. But anyway, then Rudy gave me Dr. Mitchell's number. He called Dr. Mitchell, so Dr. Mitchell contacted me. We communicated. He invited me to his house, which is only 90 minutes away. He used to live in Lake Worth. Okay. I spent 6 hours. We were conversing for 6 hours. At the end of 6 hours, he said, Ray, you have to implement what he called them ETs, what your ETs gave you. And he says, Rudy, Dr. Rudy Shields and he will be my scientific advisors. So that's how the organization started, with Mary Rodwell, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Dr. Rudy Shields. I was at Edgar's house more than 20 different times. We then started this organization, and Edgar agreed to have the organization after his name. It's called the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Experiences. Why extraordinary experiences? Because the vast majority of these experiences are not physical experiences. They're paranormal experiences.
Before you continue with this, can you, I mean, if you can share, did he told you what he saw in the moon?
Well, what he told me was that there was nothing on the moon that he saw. And also Dr. Rudy Shields, who was a very close friend of his, said the very same thing. So all these things that are circulating on the internet are bullshit.
Okay.
Because his very closest friends, and I knew many of his closest friends, you know, we all knew each other, said the same thing. What he did have, returning from the moon, he had an experience called a samadhi. A samadhi is, let me put it in simple language, is where you get a download of all information, of all knowledge.
Samadhi is, what is that, from India? Sanskrit.
Yes, it's a concept that we are all interconnected.
Yeah.
We are all one.
Samadhi is special condition of the human conscious.
Well, this specific term is that we are all one. There's no separation. But Edgar said that it was much more substantial than that. In near-death experience, a very high percentage of people in near-death experiences, they get information that they know everything because they're with God. Okay? All of a sudden, they know everything about reality. But then when they return, it's gone completely. People in our survey study, roughly 1/3 of the people, 1 out of every 3 people that have had direct contact with non-human intelligence have stated that they have gotten downloads of information that we are all one, that there's no separation, and of all the universal truths. But then it like disappeared. But they know they got that. Okay, so very, very similar concept. So Edgar had that on his way coming back from space. Okay, and so Edgar, when he returned, he wanted to know what happened to him in space. So he began researching, investigating, and he found out what this was called. So later on, 2 years later, in 1773, he started the Institute for Noetic Sciences, which is now the world's leading academic research institute on consciousness and the psi phenomenon.
Where is that institute? Where is it located?
In Petaluma, California. The lead researcher of that organization, Dr. Dean Radin, has published 4 books on psi and the paranormal and precognition and anomalous experiences. And he is also an advisor to our organization. Our organization, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, is comprised of over 25 individuals. 15 of them are PhD academics. Most of them retired. So we're not a Mickey Mouse organization. These are, and then the non-academics are people like Kathy Martin, like Mary Rodwell, still, you know, very extremely gifted and knowledgeable people. Okay. Now, our organization is not a ufology organization. We have zero interest in analyzing rocks, analyzing videos, analyzing photos.
Mostly focus on conscious?
Well, let me just finish.
Okay.
We believe that this approach is a materialist nuts and bolts approach to studying this phenomenon. And all the members of our board believe that that approach has contributed very little over the last 70 years to understand this phenomenon. Where were we 70 years ago and where are we now with that approach? Very little contributions. Okay? We believe that the experiencer, the people that are having these experiences, is the key that will unlock the door to get information about this phenomenon. Our focus, instead of ufology, materialist ufology, our focus is a little bit difficult to understand, but bear with me. Our focus is on what is called consciousness. What is the true nature of our reality? We believe that all of these different paranormal contact modalities, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, UFO contact, remote viewing, etc., that I explained before, that they're all interrelated, that it might be one phenomenon. And the commonality that they all share, there's numerous commonalities, is that all of these phenomena involve a manipulation of space-time. Okay? Dr. Jacques Vallée, which I'm sure you're familiar with, he pretty much now is the surviving father of ufology. It was he and Allen Hynek. Okay? Allen Hynek, before he died, agreed with Jacques Vallée
About?
that these phenomena have a physical characteristics, but also a psychic and ethereal paranormal characteristic, okay, which is consciousness based. Okay, Jacques Vallée said, what we have learned from this phenomenon is that we don't understand space-time. Now, why did he say that? He said that because the individuals that he researched, the hundreds and hundreds of individuals through his case studies, a good majority of them have had manipulation of space-time. Okay? For example, I'm just giving you one example.
Yeah.
In our research study, what we discovered was that 50% of the people that answered the question, have you ever been brought to a matrix reality, a reality which is not three-dimensional, but is outside of space-time. So it's not on another planet, not to a UFO craft, okay? You were not abducted, okay? But you were brought to another reality. 50% of the people said yes, okay?
Is that true that most of the people, they don't remember that? If
No,
that
no,
happened-
no. Our survey, people were asked to respond to a survey, not upon hypnotic regression, not via
No,
lucid.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, for example, maybe they was abducted, but they don't remember that happened with them. They don't have memory of that. Do you talk about this or not?
No, okay. My answer to that is that we asked individuals that took our 3 surveys to respond only upon conscious, explicit memory. Not hypnotic regression, not lucid dreams, okay? Not channeling, okay? But just conscious memories.
Okay.
So the people that answered that question was conscious memories.
Okay.